The Arcturus carried Earth's hopes among the stars. Its mission was simple: represent humanity to the Galactic Council and secure peaceful relations. Commander Alex Morgan stood on the bridge, watching alien vessels circle their ship like curious predators. "They're scanning us again," said Science Officer Olivia Wright, eyes fixed on her console. Morgan nodded. "Standard procedure, I suppose." For 3 days, they had waited in this distant system, following diplomatic protocols transmitted by Council representatives. Earth's leaders had celebrated when the first alien signals reached their world 6 months ago. Now humanity's ambassadors waited, eager to join the galactic community. "We've received docking instructions," Wright announced. "They're finally letting us in." The Arcturus approached the massive space station, a gleaming ring structure that housed representatives from over 30 spacefaring civilizations. Morgan straightened his uniform and tried to quiet the unease in his stomach. Something felt wrong. "All these species working together for thousands of years," Wright said, wonder in her voice. "Just imagine what we could learn." The ship docked with a gentle shudder. Morgan led the small human delegation toward the airlock. Ambassador Lisa Chen rehearsed her greeting speech while Security Chief Jack Wilson performed one last weapons check, ceremonial only, as they'd been instructed to come unarmed. "Remember," Morgan told his team, "we represent all of Earth today." The airlock hissed open. No welcoming committee waited on the other side, only empty corridors. "Stay alert," Morgan whispered as they moved forward. They reached a large chamber where elongated beings with translucent skin conversed in musical tones. The aliens fell silent when the humans entered. An avian creature stepped forward. "The human delegation will follow me to the council chambers." They walked through curved hallways, filled with technology beyond human understanding. Morgan cataloged everything: defensive systems, life support, potential escape routes. Old habits from military training died hard. The council chamber was a vast amphitheater. 7 beings of different species sat on elevated platforms, looking down at the humans with expressions Morgan couldn't read. "Approach," commanded a voice in perfect English. Ambassador Chen stepped forward. "Honorable Council, Earth extends friendship." "We know what Earth extends," interrupted a bulky reptilian counselor. "Your species has been studied extensively." Morgan felt a chill. "Studied? We only received first contact signals 6 months ago." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. A slender, pale being leaned forward. "Humanity has been observed for centuries. Your technological progression rate is concerning." "We come in peace," Chen insisted. "Peace is irrelevant," said another counselor. "History shows your kind cannot be trusted with advanced technology. You are violent, unpredictable, adaptable in ways that threaten stability." The reptilian counselor raised a hand. "The containment vote has already passed. Earth will be quarantined until proper measures can be implemented." "Quarantined?" Wilson stepped forward. "What does that mean?" Alarms suddenly blared throughout the station. Morgan's communicator crackled with panic. The Arcturus was under attack. "Run," Morgan shouted, grabbing Chen's arm as guards swarmed into the chamber. Chaos erupted. Wilson provided covering fire with a concealed weapon, while Morgan and Wright dragged the ambassador toward an emergency exit. "This way," Wright shouted, accessing a maintenance corridor. They fought their way back to the Arcturus, finding half the crew already dead. Morgan took the helm while Wright calculated an emergency jump. "They're jamming communications," Wright reported. "We can't warn Earth." The damaged ship broke away from the station, pursued by council vessels. "Hold on." Morgan engaged the experimental drive. Stars stretched into lines as they escaped. In the quiet aftermath, survivors gathered on the bridge. Morgan looked at their faces, injured, betrayed, determined. "They feared us enough to try eliminating us without warning," Morgan said grimly. "We need to reach Earth before they do. This isn't first contact. It's first strike in a war we didn't know was coming." The Arcturus limped back to Earth with its grim warning. Grainy footage from the council chambers played on screens worldwide as nations processed the truth. Humanity was marked for containment or worse. "They won't catch us unprepared," said Admiral William Grant, addressing the hastily formed Earth Defense Committee. 60 days had passed since the Arcturus incident. Former rivals now worked together in underground facilities across the globe. Old weapons pointed skyward, and new ones emerged from rapid development programs. "Our intel suggests we have 4 months before their fleet arrives," reported Natalie Foster, her tired eyes scanning the assembled leaders. Once a military strategist for the Western Alliance, Foster now coordinated global defense planning. 4 months to prepare for an enemy with technology centuries beyond ours, murmured President Diaz. "Is it even possible?" Grant's weathered face remained steady. "We don't need to match them. We need to survive them." In research facilities worldwide, scientists worked around the clock. The Council's attack on the Arcturus had left valuable debris. Physicist Daniel Carter led the reverse engineering efforts at the Atacama Desert facility. "The principles are similar to theories we've been developing," Carter explained as he guided Grant through the lab. "They're just perfected." Carter pointed to a glowing cylinder. "Their propulsion system manipulates space-time in ways we've only theorized. But we're making progress." "How much progress?" Grant asked. "Enough to retrofit our 20 largest vessels with prototype drives within 3 months. They won't be as efficient as theirs, but they'll be close." Outside, construction drones swarmed over massive hull sections. Earth had never built ships meant for deep space combat before. Now, mining operations stripped asteroids for resources while factories worked continuously. In orbital training facilities, pilots learned to handle spacecraft designed for war. Commander Morgan and Officer Wright, now heroes of the first encounter, trained the best candidates. "You won't outmaneuver them in traditional combat," Morgan told a group of pilots. "Their ships are faster, their weapons more powerful, but they've never fought humans before." Wright added, "They expect us to follow conventional tactics. We won't." Foster's strategy team developed guerrilla approaches to space warfare, hit-and-run attacks, ambushes near planetary bodies, and unconventional weapons. "Their ships rely on standard shielding configurations," she explained to Grant. "But we found frequencies that could disrupt them momentarily, just long enough to deliver payloads." Not everyone believed resistance was possible. Underground bunkers were constructed for a fraction of Earth's population. Preservation of human knowledge became paramount. Cultural archives, scientific data, and genetic samples were secured in hardened facilities beneath mountain ranges. "We prepare for victory and survival simultaneously," President Diaz told a worried world. "Humanity will not vanish quietly." The coalition fleet took shape in Earth's orbit. 87 vessels, most converted from peaceful purposes, now bristled with weapons. The flagship, renamed Defiance, served as Grant's command center. "We've united more in 2 months than in our entire history," Grant observed as he and Foster surveyed the growing fleet. "Fear is a powerful motivator," Foster replied. "Not just fear. They underestimated something fundamental about us." Grant's eyes reflected the lights of the assembling ships. "Humans don't submit to cages, not even gilded ones." Throughout the fleet, crews trained for scenarios based on Wright's observations of Council technology. Engineers worked to the point of exhaustion implementing Carter's breakthroughs. Intelligence teams analyzed every second of footage from the Arcturus encounter. When the long-range sensors detected anomalies at the edge of the solar system, Grant was on the bridge of the Defiance. "Multiple signatures entering the system," reported the sensor officer. "Configuration matches Wright's Council vessel profiles." Grant's voice was calm as he opened the fleet-wide channel. "All ships, battle positions. They're early, but so are we. Humanity stands together today." The coalition fleet moved into formation as Earth prepared for its first interstellar war. The Council fleet emerged from hyperspace, a wall of gleaming ships that dwarfed Earth's defenders. 123 alien vessels formed a blockade around Earth's orbital paths, their weapons systems pulsing with energy. "They're not attacking immediately," observed Admiral Grant from the Defiance's command center. "They're positioning for containment." Tactical displays showed the Council forces spreading into a spherical formation. Earth's smaller fleet held position behind Mars, hidden from immediate detection. "They think we're primitive," said Foster. "They expect us to be defenseless." 3 days passed in tense silence. The Council transmitted demands to Earth's governments: surrender all space-capable technology, accept permanent oversight, and restrict population growth. The price of refusal would be orbital bombardment of major cities. Grant gathered his commanders for the final briefing. "We can't match their firepower, but we have something they don't expect: Lieutenant Rivera's strike team." Sam Rivera stood at attention. At 32, the former submarine commander had adapted his deep-sea tactics for space warfare. "My team is ready, Admiral." "You'll only get one shot," Grant reminded him. "Make it count." While the Council focused on Earth, Rivera led 6 stealth vessels toward the alien fleet's command ship. These small craft had been coated with experimental materials that absorbed sensor scans, making them nearly invisible against the backdrop of space. "Steady approach," Rivera whispered, though there was no need for silence in space. "Match velocity with target." His team attached magnetic clamps to the massive Council flagship. Engineers in specialized suits cut through the hull at predetermined points. "We're in," Rivera reported through the encrypted channel. Inside the alien vessel, the human team moved quickly through unfamiliar corridors. They planted devices Carter's team had developed, disruptors designed to interfere with the ship's systems. "Charges set," Rivera confirmed. "Beginning Phase 2. At his signal, Grant ordered the Coalition fleet to emerge from behind Mars. Earth's ships accelerated toward the blockade, appearing on Council sensors as a desperate, disorganized attack. The Council fleet responded predictably, moving to intercept the approaching humans. Their commanders never noticed the silent countdown happening aboard their flagship. Rivera's team barely made it back to their vessels when the disruptors activated. Throughout the Council flagship, systems failed in cascading sequences. Communications, weapons, and propulsion all went dark. "Now," Grant ordered. The Coalition fleet suddenly changed formation, executing maneuvers no Council tactician had predicted. Instead of engaging the superior alien force directly, Earth's ships targeted specific vulnerabilities Wright had identified in Council vessel designs. "Focus fire on their port energy conduits," Foster directed from tactical. 3-second bursts, then move to next target. Earth's ships darted between the larger alien vessels, striking and repositioning before the Council gunners could lock weapons. The Council's advantage in firepower meant nothing if they couldn't hit their targets. "They're trying to regroup," Wright observed, watching the alien ships attempting to form defensive clusters. "Deploy the mines," Grant ordered. Hundreds of small dormant devices previously scattered throughout the engagement zone suddenly activated. These were Carter's adaptation of Council shield technology, inverted to create disruptive energy fields rather than protective ones. When Council ships passed through these fields, their systems faltered momentarily. In those precious seconds, Coalition vessels delivered precise strikes. The Council flagship, still crippled by Rivera's attack, drifted helplessly. 3 alien destroyers moved to protect it, but Earth's hit-and-run tactics kept them off balance. "We've damaged 14 of their vessels," Foster reported, "but we've lost 11 of ours." Grant nodded grimly. The cost was high, but they had achieved something remarkable. They had survived the first engagement. The Council fleet began a tactical retreat, pulling back to regroup beyond Luna's orbit. For the first time, the mighty Galactic Council had failed to subdue a species in their initial assault. "They'll be back," Foster said, "with reinforcements." "So will we," Grant replied, watching as Earth's defenders regrouped. "And next time, we'll be ready to take the fight to them." The Council's retreat gave Earth precious time. 6 weeks passed as both sides regrouped and reassessed. Humanity had proven itself a formidable opponent, but everyone knew the Council would return with greater numbers. "We can't win a war of attrition," Grant told the Defense Committee. Each ship we lose can't be replaced fast enough. Each pilot who dies takes years of training with them. The committee room fell silent. Earth had survived the first attack, but at tremendous cost. Then we changed the nature of the conflict, Foster suggested. If we can't defend, we attack. Operation Eternal Blade was born that day. Rather than waiting for the Council's next assault, humanity would take the fight to enemy territory. Select ships would strike Council supply lines, communication hubs, and military installations throughout nearby systems. The stealth vessel Night Shadow became the operation's centerpiece. Sleek and dark, it incorporated the best of human and reverse-engineered Council technology. "She's not pretty, but she's invisible to their standard scans," said Chief Engineer Ryan Phillips, patting the ship's hull. The 39-year-old engineer had redesigned the vessel's signature 3 times before achieving near-perfect stealth capabilities. Captain Elizabeth Garcia was chosen to command the Night Shadow. "We slip past their defenses, hit critical targets, and disappear before they know what happened," she explained to her crew. "We become the ghost story that keeps alien commanders awake at night." The Night Shadow departed Earth under cover of a meteoroid shower. 4 other stealth vessels followed in the subsequent days, each taking different routes to Council space. Their first target was a fuel processing station in the Proxima system. Garcia watched from the bridge as her ship drifted silently toward the massive facility. Council ships patrolled nearby, oblivious to the human vessel in their midst. "Weapon systems ready," reported the tactical officer. "Target locked." "Fire," Garcia ordered. The Night Shadow's missiles struck with devastating precision. The station erupted in a series of explosions before emergency systems contained the damage. By the time Council vessels responded, the Night Shadow was already moving to its next target. Similar scenes played out across Council-controlled space as Earth's stealth ships struck seemingly at random. Supply convoys found themselves ambushed. Communication relays went dark without warning. Military outposts reported phantom attacks. "The Council is in disarray," Wright reported, analyzing intercepted communications. "They've increased patrols, but can't predict where we'll strike next." Phillips and his engineering team worked continuously to improve their advantage. When the Council adjusted their detection systems, Phillips developed adaptive shielding that changed the Night Shadow's energy signature. "They're looking for patterns," Phillips explained as he made adjustments, "so we give them noise instead." 3 months into Operation Eternal Blade, the Night Shadow infiltrated a Council shipyard. Garcia and her crew placed explosives on vessels under construction. The resulting destruction set back the Council's naval expansion by months. "We're making them bleed," Foster observed during a secure communication with Garcia. "But they're starting to adapt," Garcia replied. "Their newest patrol ships are carrying multi-spectrum scanners. We had to abort our last mission when they almost detected us." The Council's response grew more desperate. They increased civilian surveillance, imposed martial law on border worlds, and executed anyone suspected of aiding the human terrorists. But these harsh measures only created resentment among the Council's subject species. During a high-risk mission to a Council command center, Garcia's team discovered something unexpected: communiques from non-Council worlds expressing sympathy for Earth's resistance. "They're watching us," Garcia told Grant during her report. "Other species who chafe under Council rule. They see us fighting back, and it gives them hope." Grant's expression remained stoic, but his eyes revealed understanding. "Then we show them that resistance is possible. We show the galaxy that humanity will not be contained." The Night Shadow vanished back into the darkness of space, carrying humanity's defiance to the stars. The hunter had become the hunted, and the Council was beginning to understand the true meaning of fear. The Night Shadow drifted silently in orbit around Keltura, a mining world on the edge of Council space. Captain Garcia watched through the viewscreen as alien workers loaded minerals onto transport ships under heavy guard. "Those aren't Council species," she noted, zooming in on the laborers. "They look like prisoners," finished her first officer. or slaves. The Night Shadow had been tracking unusual shipping patterns when they discovered this facility. Council overseers drove exhausted workers with shock prods and restraint fields. "We should leave," the tactical officer suggested. "This isn't a military target." Garcia hesitated, then noticed movement in the tree line near the mining operation. Figures darted between shadows, approaching the perimeter defenses. "Someone's about to attack the facility," she realized. "Scan them." "Not Council biosignatures," reported the science officer. "They match records for a species called the Vex. The Council declared them pacified 20 years ago." The resistance fighters breached the perimeter but quickly found themselves surrounded by security forces. Garcia made a split-second decision. Target the guard towers. Non-lethal strikes only. The Night Shadow's precision weapons disabled the facility's defenses, allowing the Vex fighters to free their people. When Council reinforcements arrived, the human ship revealed itself long enough to provide covering fire before vanishing again. 3 days later, a coded signal reached the Night Shadow. The message was simple: "Friends seek friends." Garcia approached the meeting point cautiously. In a hollow asteroid beyond Council sensor range, representatives of the Vex resistance waited. "You fight the Council openly," said their leader, a gray-skinned being named Krell. "We thought humans were alone in this." "We are," Garcia admitted. "Or we were." Krell explained how the Council had subjugated the Vex generations ago, stripping their homeworld of resources and reducing them to labor camps. Other species had suffered similar fates: the crystalline Meridians, the aquatic Noor, all catalogued, controlled, and exploited by Council decree. "We've fought in shadows for years," Krell said, "but seeing your species defy them has sparked something new." Word of the Alliance reached Earth through secure channels. Diplomat Kevin Powell was dispatched to formalize relations with these potential allies. The 41-year-old former peace negotiator had never imagined his skills would be needed with alien species. "We need more than goodwill," Grant told Powell before his departure. "We need intelligence and coordination." Powell established a hidden base in an abandoned mining system, where representatives from oppressed species could meet safely. Intelligence officer Laura Bennett created a network of informants throughout Council space, gathering critical information about Council movements and weaknesses. "The Council isn't the benevolent unifier they claim to be," Bennett reported after compiling testimonies from various species. "They identify advanced civilizations, assess their threat level, then either recruit or subjugate them. We weren't the first to resist, just the first to survive the initial containment." The evidence Bennett uncovered revealed systematic corruption within the Council hierarchy. Some councilors grew wealthy from resources stripped from conquered worlds. Others maintained private armies to enforce their will on protected planets. "We're not just fighting for Earth anymore," Powell told the assembled representatives of 6 different species. "We're fighting for a different kind of galaxy." The Vex provided stealth technology that even surpassed Earth's developments. The Meridians offered crystalline weapons capable of penetrating Council shields. Each species contributed something unique to the growing alliance. 4 months after the first contact with the Vex, the Alliance launched coordinated strikes against Council facilities across 3 sectors. The Night Shadow led a mixed fleet of human, Vex, and Meridian ships against a major Council shipyard. For the first time, Council forces found themselves fighting on multiple fronts against enemies who knew their tactics and weaknesses. "They never expected us to unite," Garcia said as she watched Allied ships destroying Council vessels. "They thought keeping us separate would keep us weak." Powell addressed the Alliance Council after their first major victory. "For too long, the Council has ruled through fear and division. Today we've shown them something new, something they truly fear." "What's that?" asked a Meridian representative. "Hope," Powell answered simply. "And it spreads faster than fear." A year into the conflict, the Alliance had grown to include 9 formerly subjugated species. What began as Earth's desperate fight for survival had transformed into a galactic revolution. Council authority crumbled at the edges as more worlds declared independence. Dr. Michelle Barnes sat alone in her lab aboard the Alliance station Hope's Dawn, surrounded by alien text scrolling across multiple screens. The 36-year-old Senolinguist had spent months decoding archives stolen from a council repository. "This can't be right," she whispered, checking her translations again. She called an emergency meeting with Alliance leadership. Admiral Grant, now commander of the combined fleet, joined via secure transmission from Earth. Captain Garcia and representatives from each allied species gathered around the conference table. "The Council isn't thousands of years old," Barnes explained, displaying translated documents. "It's millions of years old. And it's been doing the same thing throughout its existence, finding developing civilizations, assessing them, and either absorbing or eliminating them." The room fell silent as Barnes continued. "But that's not the worst part. The Council doesn't just conquer worlds for resources or security. They harvest them for something specific." She displayed scans of an ancient facility hidden at the heart of Council space, a massive structure that drew energy from nearby stars. "They're trying to prevent something they call the collapse. Every few million years, they sacrifice dozens of civilizations to power a device that supposedly protects this galaxy from some greater threat." "Sacrifice how?" asked Krell of the Vex. Barnes hesitated. "They extract what they call evolutionary potential, the unique cognitive patterns of each species. They believe diversity of thought is an energy form that can be harnessed." The implications were clear. The Council didn't just conquer, it farmed intelligent life, cultivating civilizations until they reached optimal development, then harvesting them. Earth wasn't targeted because we're dangerous, Grant realized. We were ripe for harvesting. Intelligence from Bennett's network confirmed Barnes' discoveries. The Council was preparing for another ascension cycle, their term for the mass absorption of multiple species' consciousness. Earth and several other recently discovered civilizations were to be the primary sacrifices. "We need to strike at their center," Grant decided, "not just to save ourselves, but to end this cycle permanently." The Alliance assembled its largest fleet, 300 ships from 9 species, each bringing unique technologies and tactics. The Defiance, upgraded with Alliance innovations, served as the command vessel. "This is our only chance," Grant told the assembled captains. "We've mapped the approach through Council space. We'll face heavy resistance, but our combined technologies give us advantages they've never encountered." The journey to the Council homeworld took 17 days. Alliance vessels used overlapping stealth systems developed by Phillips and Vex engineers. When Council patrols detected them, Meridian crystalline weapons cut through their defenses before they could send warnings. But as they approached the Council core worlds, resistance intensified. Ancient defense systems activated, including weapons of terrifying power that could destroy ships with single hits. "They're using technology they've harvested from thousands of civilizations," Barnes observed grimly. The Alliance fleet suffered heavy losses. Strike teams led by Rivera managed to disable some defense platforms, but the cost was mounting. As they reached the inner defense perimeter around the Council homeworld, their advance stalled. "We need a gap in their defenses," Grant said, studying tactical displays that showed an impenetrable line of Council dreadnoughts. Garcia stood on the Night Shadows bridge, watching the battle unfold. Her stealth ship had led them this far, slipping past outer defenses and mapping safe corridors. Now they faced the final barrier. "We can create that gap," she said quietly to her crew. "But there's only one way." She opened a channel to Grant. "Admiral, we're going to open a path for you. The Night Shadow's core can be modified to create a gravity distortion when it overloads. It will pull their ships out of formation long enough for the fleet to break through." Grant understood immediately. "Elizabeth, there must be another way." "There isn't, and you know it." Garcia's voice was calm. "Just make it count." The Night Shadow accelerated toward the center of the Council formation, its stealth systems allowing it to approach undetected. As Phillips overrode the safety protocols on the core, Garcia sent a final message. The Alliance fleet descended through the atmosphere of the Council homeworld, a pristine planet of towering crystal cities and artificial landscapes. Defense systems fired desperately at the invading ships, but the sacrifice of the Night Shadow had broken their coordinated response. Central complex ahead, reported right from the Defiance's tactical station. The massive structure dominated the horizon, a pyramid of gleaming metal and energy fields rising above the landscape. Grant directed the final assault. Focus on the defense nodes. Ground teams prepare for deployment. Landing craft broke from the fleet, carrying mixed teams of humans and allies. Commander Morgan led the primary strike force, with Rivera and Bennett coordinating flanking teams. Move fast and stay together, Morgan told the assembled warriors. Council guards will fight to the death to protect what's inside. They fought their way through layers of defenses, automated turrets, elite guard units, and ancient security systems. The allied species worked in perfect coordination, each complementing the other's strengths. Vex shadow stepped through energy barriers that blocked humans. Meridian crystal forms absorbed weapon fire that would have killed others. We're approaching the central chamber, Morgan reported as they reached massive doors inscribed with symbols from countless extinct civilizations. Barnes' voice came through their comms. Those are records of harvested species. They display them as trophies. The doors opened to reveal the council chamber. 7 ancient beings seated on crystalline thrones surrounding a pulsing energy well. Unlike the representatives Morgan had met a year earlier, these were the true council, beings who had extended their lives for millennia by consuming the potential of other species. You should not be here, spoke one, its voice resonating directly in their minds. This cycle is necessary. Your resistance threatens all life in this galaxy. Morgan stepped forward. We've seen your archives. You don't protect the galaxy, you farm it. Without our guidance, the collapse would have consumed all life eons ago, another counselor responded. The sacrifice of few ensures the survival of many. There are better ways, Morgan countered, ways that don't require genocide. The counselor's anger manifested as ripples of energy that made the air shimmer. Primitive minds cannot comprehend the scales we balance. We have shepherded this galaxy for millions of years, and harvested thousands of civilizations in the process. Morgan said, that ends today. Fighting erupted as hidden council guards emerged from concealed positions. The Alliance forces held their ground while Bennett and a team of technical specialists worked to access the central controls. The harvesting device is powering up, Bennett warned. They're trying to activate it early. The energy well at the chamber's center glowed brighter, drawing power from storage facilities across the planet. This was the heart of the Council's power, the culmination of millions of years of harvested potential. We can't shut it down completely, Bennett reported, but we can redirect it. Powell, who had insisted on joining the final mission, stepped forward. Redirected to what? To itself, Barnes suggested through the comm. If the device consumes its own energy pattern. Understanding dawned on Powell's face. It would break the cycle. The pattern would collapse. While battle raged around them, Bennett's team reconfigured the ancient machinery. Council guards fell one by one as Morgan's forces protected the technicians. It's ready, Bennett announced finally. But someone needs to remain at the controls to complete the sequence. Morgan looked at the wounded and exhausted fighters around him. I'll do it. No, Powell said, stepping to the control panel. This is diplomatic work now. Negotiating a new future for the galaxy. Before Morgan could protest, Powell began the final sequence. Energy patterns shifted, brilliant light cascading through the chamber as the harvesting device turned inward. Get everyone out, Powell ordered, his hand steady on the controls. This place won't survive what's coming. Morgan led the evacuation as the chamber began to shake. The counselors, realizing what was happening, abandoned their thrones and fled toward escape vessels. From orbit, Grant watched as energy surged through the council complex. All ships maintained safe distance. The harvesting device imploded with a silent flash that momentarily outshone the planet's sun. When it faded, the Council's central complex was gone, leaving only a perfectly circular crater. 5 years had passed since the fall of the Council. The galaxy was healing, but not without growing pains. Commander Alex Morgan, now Admiral Morgan, stood on the observation deck of Earth's new galactic embassy station. The massive ring-shaped structure orbited a neutral star at the crossroads of former Council space. Morgan watched as ships from dozens of species docked and departed. Trade routes flourished where once only Council vessels had been permitted to travel. Cultural exchanges brought new art, music, and ideas to worlds that had been isolated for centuries. "Still can't believe we pulled it off," said Olivia Wright, joining him at the viewport. The former science officer now led the Alliance Scientific Cooperative, where researchers from all member species shared knowledge freely. "Some days I can't either," Morgan admitted. Their conversation was interrupted by a young aide. "Admiral, the Meridian delegation has arrived for the anniversary ceremony." The Grand Assembly Hall filled with representatives from 37 species, the founding 9 allies and 28 others who had joined the new galactic cooperative in the years since. At the center stood a memorial to those lost in the liberation, human and alien names etched side by side in materials from each homeworld. Admiral Grant, his hair now fully white, opened the proceedings. "5 years ago, we stood together against tyranny. Today, we stand together in friendship." The assembled delegates applauded. Many had fought alongside humans in the final battle. Others had joined after witnessing the fall of Council authority. All shared a commitment to preventing another such power from rising. Morgan took his turn at the podium. The Council believed sacrifice was necessary for stability. They thought progress required control. "We've proven otherwise." He gestured to displays showing cooperative projects throughout the galaxy, joint scientific missions, shared defense systems, open borders. "Our strength comes from our differences, not despite them," Morgan continued. "The Council saw diversity as something to be harvested. We see it as something to be celebrated." After the ceremony, Morgan met privately with representatives from the reclamation teams, specialists dedicated to finding and restoring species the Council had nearly destroyed. Their work had already revived 3 civilizations thought lost forever. "We've located another repository," reported the Vex representative. "Data patterns suggest it contains consciousness imprints from at least 12 extinct species." "Can they be restored?" Morgan asked. "Partially. We can recreate their biological patterns and restore cultural knowledge, but much has been lost." The weight of this responsibility sometimes kept Morgan awake at night. Humanity had freed the galaxy, but the scars of Council rule would take generations to heal. Later that evening, Morgan visited the station's memorial garden. Among the monuments stood a life-size statue of Captain Elizabeth Garcia. The Night Shadow's sacrifice had become legendary, a symbol of the courage that had turned the tide. "I thought I might find you here," said Foster, now diplomatic coordinator for Earth's outreach efforts. "Just paying my respects," Morgan replied. "They're calling us the Eternal Blade out there, you know," Foster said. "Not just humans, all of us who fought together. The species who remember, who stand watch. Is that what we are now? Guardians?" "Among other things." Foster smiled. "We're explorers again, too. Carter's team has modified the Defiance for deep space exploration. They leave next month to chart what's beyond Council maps." Morgan nodded appreciatively. This was what they had fought for, not just survival, but the freedom to grow, to explore, to connect. A small child from one of the newer member species approached cautiously, staring at Morgan with wide eyes. "Are you really the human who fought the Council?" the child asked in halting standard. Morgan knelt to meet the child's gaze. "I was one of many who fought. From many worlds. My teacher says humans teach other species to be brave." "Is that true?" Morgan considered this. "I think bravery was always there. Sometimes we just need to see others stand up first." As the child left, Foster looked thoughtful. That's our real legacy, isn't it? Not what we destroyed, but what we inspired. Morgan watched the stars beyond the viewport, countless worlds now charting their own destinies. The Council ruled through fear for millions of years, he said quietly. Let's see how much further hope can take us.